When you hear the name San Francisco 49ers, you probably think about deep playoff runs, Super Bowl chatter. It's just what they do. But, as we look at the 2025 season, it's not quite that simple. This team is staring at a major crossroads with some really high-stakes questions that need answers.
So let's get right into it. On paper, this roster is just stacked, loaded with all-pro talent. But at the same time, there are some serious pressures building up, both on the field and behind the scenes. So are they the Super Bowl favorite everyone expects, or are they a team kind of teetering on the edge? All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about why they're at this crossroads. Then we'll get into their powerful offensive engine. After that, we got to look at the cracks in the armor, a pretty messy contract standoff, and finally, we'll see what the numbers say in the final verdict.
Okay, let's kick things off with their biggest strength, without a doubt, that offensive engine. And specifically, I'm talking about the backfield, which got a really smart upgrade this offseason.
It all starts and ends with one guy, Christian McCaffrey. He's the absolute heart of this offense. But last season's injuries, well, they were a huge warning sign. So priority number one for the front office this year was simple. Figure out how to keep this guy healthy and on the field.
And their answer? Go out and trade for Brian Robinson Jr. And look, this wasn't just about getting a backup. The goal here was to create a legitimate two-headed monster. Coach Kyle Shanahan wanted another guy who could carry the load, a true starting caliber back, so they could manage McCaffrey snaps without the offense skipping a single beat.
And this quote right here tells you everything you need to know about their confidence level. You hear Coach Shanahan, and he's not worried about age or injuries. He's basically saying McCaffrey looks incredible and is primed for another massive season. They are not planning for a drop-off. They are planning for dominance.
But even the most powerful engine on the planet needs protection. And that brings us to maybe the single biggest question mark for the 49ers, that offensive line.
I mean, just look at this. This comparison shows you everything. When their future Hall of Fame left tackle Trent Williams is in the game, they're a solid B- unit, totally respectable. But the second he's not out there, they fall off a cliff to a D-. We're talking one of the worst lines in the entire league. And that's no exaggeration. Here's the scary part. Williams is going to be 37 this season, and he has missed games every single year he's been a 49er, usually because of nagging ankle issues. So their dependency on him isn't just a concern. It is a massive, potential, season-wrecking risk. So on top of that huge on-field risk, you've got some pretty significant drama brewing off the field. This time, it's with a key offensive weapon, and it's creating some real friction within the organization.
And it all boils down to this number. Reports say that wide receiver Jawan Jennings wants a new contract that pays him over $20 million a year, a salary that, by the way, would put him right up there with the top receivers in the game.
Honestly, the whole situation is just messy. You've got Jennings, who clearly sees himself as a number one guy and wants to get paid like one. The team, on the other hand, seems to view him more as a valuable but third option. Throw in a trade request and a nagging calf injury, and yeah, you've got yourself a classic tense contract standoff.
And if you had any doubt about where the team stands, well, General Manager John Lynch made it crystal clear. When he was asked about that trade request, his answer was about as blunt as it gets. The 49ers are not budging, which leaves this whole thing in a really awkward spot heading into the season.
So, what do we have? A dominant running game, a very fragile offensive line, and some locker room drama. How in the world does that all shake out? Well, for the final verdict, let's see what the data from Pro Football Focus has to say about their chances. Okay, so the 49ers have a 61% chance of making the playoffs. And hey, that's a pretty strong number, but look where it puts them. They're in a tier clearly behind the true elites like the Bills and the Ravens. It suggests they're good, for sure, but maybe not quite in that top tier.
And this chart right here, man, this really illustrates the massive mountain they have to climb. Watch how these odds just plummet at every step. 61% to make the playoffs. That drops all the way to 35% just to win their division. Winning the NFC, an 8% shot. And to win the Super Bowl, a tiny 4% chance. The journey just gets so much harder with each round.
So this is where we land. The 49ers absolutely have the offensive firepower to go toe-to-toe with anyone. But those vulnerabilities we talked about, the total reliance on a 37-year-old tackle and the unresolved drama with a key receiver, those are just as real. And it leaves us with the one big question as the season kicks off. Which version of the San Francisco 49ers is actually going to show up?